Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask that you set your cell phones to silent or vibrate so it doesn't interrupt the meeting. And we'll start out with a call to our opening prayer and a pledge of allegiance. So if you'll stand with me and do the opening prayer and remove your hats, we'll proceed. Lord, thank you for bringing us all together tonight to celebrate the gifts that you've given us of this town. Thank you for the people that live in the town and the people that work for the town. You've blessed us with so much. Keep Raz in your stead as he recovers from a injured wrist this afternoon, so he won't be joining us. So let us keep him in our prayers as well. Give us the wisdom to go about this business tonight and do your will and make this town a better place to live. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States, to the republic which stands one nation, for God, indivisible, liberty. Okay, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. The first section is for public comment, and nobody signed up for that. That would be for 3 minutes for anything pertaining to items on the agenda, and no one signed up, so we'll move on from that. Next would be the adoption of the agenda and consent items, and these are items that may be voted on as a single group without discussion, or if desired, we can request them remove any of them or one of them to the consent agenda and be placed for consideration separately. So is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, so there's a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So that motion carries. And that included the budget ordinance. So we move now to appointments and recognitions. And I'd like to introduce Linda Folger and Cindy Taylor. If you'd like to step over to this podium, it'll probably be more comfortable for you. They represent Zoe Empowers, which is another one of our community organizations here in town that does a lot of international work. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Jason Mabry. He went to South America about a month or so ago and did some work totally not connected with them, but this is another group that goes over to Africa, and I'll let you explain it from there. You can explain it far better than I could. So Linda, if you'll go ahead.
Okay, am I on?
Yep,
You can hear
you
me?
are.
All right,
And
awesome.
please speak in the microphone so we can pick it up for
Okay.
transcription.
Awesome.
And Jimmy's deaf as well, so
Well, thanks for the invitation to share about Zoe Empowers. I really do appreciate that, Mayor Justice. And as he said, my name is Linda Folger, and this is Cindy Taylor. And we know Bill through our church, which is Swansboro United Methodist Church. And our backgrounds with Zoe are different, but we are both so passionate about it and really excited to tell you all about it. My involvement with Zoe dates back about to 2012. I was trying to figure that out today, but I believe it goes all the way back to 2012. And at that time, kicking and screaming, God called me to go to Africa. And it just so happened, this went on for several months, that I kept picking up publications that talked about the children in Africa and all their needs and so forth. And, I just was like, okay, why are you bringing this to my attention? Well, finally, we went to a vacation in the Cayman Islands, and because I'm a diver, and my husband reluctantly is too. But at any rate, we went to the Cayman Islands, and who would be the manager of the resort? Where would he be from? Zimbabwe. Okay. Okay, that's one last thing. And of course, there was an article in the magazine, because at the time, y'all, they had magazines in the airplane about starving children in Africa and so on and so forth. Well, we got back on a Saturday night, and on Sunday morning, there was a guest minister at our service, and he was there to talk about Zoe Empowers. And I went, okay, I'm going to Africa. So have I ever told you that story? Crazy. At any rate, I became involved then, and Cindy is going to tell you a lot more about how she became involved and her experience in traveling to Africa as well. And before we do that, I want to show you a video on Zoe Empowers, and I think it'll give you a lot of really good background. So Alyssa's going to help us with that.
Zoe Empowers was organized in 2004 as a response to the orphan and vulnerable children from the AIDS pandemic. In late 2006, there was an overage of funding, and the board wanted to invest it instead of just putting it out there. And they were introduced to a Rwandan social worker named Epiphany Mujuwamana. And she became frustrated by what she saw as a cycle of relief and dependency on that relief. Epiphany started asking the question, there's these desperately economically poor young people. What would they need in their lives to be able to stand on their own feet and never need charity again? What Zoe Empowers has found is a 3-year, community-based, indigenous-led empowerment program where the young people are actually able to take the lead in their own journey out of poverty. They're able to become safe and healthy, skilled for long-term success, and able to live meaningful lives wrapped in layers of community. One of the distinctives about Zoe Empowers is the level to which the young people take the lead in their own journey out of poverty. Zoe only has 1 staff per 1,000 orphan children in the program. Epiphany found that if there were too many adults in the room, the young people would never take their own authority. I'm excited about the future and the possibilities. If we grew 30% year over year for the next 11 years, we would have over 1 million young people being empowered in the program and over 800,000 already graduated. People are starting to recognize that these young people have skills and they have abilities, and what they lack is opportunity.
Thank you. That's a very unique way of really addressing the issue of poverty. So I want you to imagine with me for a minute, if you were 10 years old, maybe 12 years old, let's say, and you were orphaned because your family, your mom and dad, were killed from AIDS. Maybe they were killed from the genocide. At any rate, you have at least 2 younger siblings, and they may be 5, 3, maybe even younger than that, and you're homeless. Imagine that. You're dependent on begging, scrounging for food. And so there are charities that you can depend on too, maybe aid. Maybe. And it's all temporary. Because you don't know what the change in focus maybe for a charity might be. So what happens then? That's the beauty of the empowerment model. Because after 3 years, these kids are completely self-sufficient. And I can tell you it really does happen. 95% success ratio. In many cases, more than that. So imagine this program. It has a totally different approach. They achieve food security, safe housing, health. They feel like they have a real sense of belonging with the other group members. And they no longer consider themselves to be orphans. They know that they're children of God and they're part of a group. So it's a beautiful, beautiful ministry. And 153 million children in this world are affected by the orphan crisis. 153 million. There's a lot of work to be done. But Zoe equips these vulnerable children with solutions that overcome the poverty for good. That's what's really unique about it. And when we go there, people always ask us, well, what are you going to be doing? Well, no, we're not going there to do something for someone, because the question is there something that you might be doing that they could do themselves? And if that's the case, then we don't do it. So it's a whole different approach. So we're going to be visiting the programs in Rwanda, and this will be our second time. We went year before last. Yeah, 25. To Rwanda, and that is actually where the empowerment model started. Epiphany Mujawami, who Gaston Warner mentioned in his video. By the way, he's our domestic CEO. Anyway, she founded, and she's from Rwanda, so we'll be able to travel with her, which is exciting. And we are really praying that our group that comes together to go will not just be from our church, but they'll be from surrounding churches. Because this is not a Methodist thing, this is not a Baptist thing, this is not a denomination thing. It's a God thing, y'all. So we really would be excited to have people from all different places in the Crystal Coast to go with us on this trip. And with that, I want Cindy to tell us about her experiences in traveling and what that trip meant to you. That was my 8th trip, I think, to Africa, but this was your first, and so it's fresh. I'm excited to have you tell me.
Not only was it my first trip to Africa, it was the first time I had been on a plane in 30 years. I heard about Zoe, of course, from Linda, and I remember thinking, well, that's neat. That's a good idea, and it kind of went out of my mind. She did a Zoom meeting in our church with some of the kids. We call them kids. Some of them are very young, like 14. Some of them may be up to like 21, but they're all taking care of younger siblings. So we did that Zoom meeting, and it was just unbelievable. They had walked for like an hour and a half to get there, and they were so proud of their accomplishments. So anyway, I decided I would go. On the trip, we went out in a safari vehicle every day. Sometimes we rode 3.5, maybe 4 hours up a mountain on these, like a goat path. The bridges were hog slats, basically. And we went to these villages. On this trip, we saw the students already enrolled in the program, the ones that were close to graduating first. They did that so because they said, if we do the new kids in the program, your heart can't take it. You got to see success first. So we would go and we would see their small businesses that these kids start. A lot of them are farmers. The soil there is very fertile, apparently, because they have beautiful, beautiful produce. Some of them were able to buy chicken, so they had eggs. So they didn't eat the chicken. They ate some of the eggs, and they sold eggs. If they were able to have a pig, they were really getting somewhere. Some of the boys especially were able to buy bicycles, and they worked as a taxi service because the majority of these people are walking for an hour, 2 hours to get water multiple times a day. So the taxi business was great there. A lot of them, too, were seamstresses or tailors, and they made just beautiful clothes and hats and other things. And they accomplish this because they go through a training program with Zoe. They learn an occupation. They also learn about health because they know nothing about germs. They know nothing about health, really, because they don't have access to health care. So we got to visit them, and it was awesome, awesome. The biggest smiles I have ever seen in my life. Looking at you eye to eye, a really touching moment was we were in a market. We had met two brothers that were farmers, and they got to meet their sponsor, who was an individual. He was standing behind them, and they didn't know it. And somebody said, "Who is your sponsor?" And he said, "John Thompson." And he tapped him on the shoulder, and he said, "I'm John Thompson." Well, that was an awesome moment. Okay, towards the end of the week, we went to see these kids who were brand new in the program. We sat in on their training that day, and then after, when they took a break, we had about 5 kids sit down in front of us and tell their stories through a translator, which was Epiphany. And I never saw a single one make eye contact with anybody. Not us, not Epiphany, not each other. Their stories were horrible, beyond horrible. When we came out of there, Linda said, the only way that we can walk out of here is to know these kids are going to be okay. They're in the program now. One of them had had a handful of beans about 4 or 5 days before. None of them had any food for themselves or their siblings for that day. So that was very, the word moving doesn't do it justice. But anyway, there was one boy we called him Bridge Boy. His parents dumped him because some of these kids, their parents have just run off and left them for whatever reason. His parents dumped him with the grandfather. The grandfather died. He had nowhere to live. He's living under a bridge. And remember, I told you the bridges are like hog slats. So let me move forward to some of the kids who are getting ready to graduate. We met with them. It was a Sunday morning. We were up on a mountaintop. It was unbelievable. There was this one young man named Justin. He was, I believe, 17 maybe. He had multiple young siblings that he was taking care of. And he spoke and he said, before Zoe, I was, what was the word? Wicked. It wasn't despicable, it was wicked. He said, I stole everything I could get my hands on. People hated me, nobody would talk to me. He said, and now with Zoe, I'm respected in my community. My siblings are going to school. In Rwanda, school is free, but you have to wear a uniform that you have to buy. So these kids, little kids, probably the smallest one I saw wandering was, I'd say, maybe 3, wandering up the road. We hadn't seen an adult in miles. But the older siblings are out looking for food or working, and frequently working, they work all day for somebody and they give them a handful of beans. You know, they're very mistreated. But anyway, looking at those kids like Justin, who was so proud, he said, I'm no longer wicked. I know that I'm a child of God. Comparing him to Bridge Boy sold me. So I have just, you know, it has just been an amazing thing in my life. And like Linda said, it's not a Methodist thing. It's a everybody thing. It's a community thing. Thank you for letting us speak.
Don't have any questions or anything? If you do,
Anybody have any questions? So the main thing is you teach people how to take care of themselves. You don't really do it for them. And I just wanted to bring to light what y'all are doing. Like, it's kind of like what Jacob Mabry was doing at his group, and they went to South America. Very similar. They do it more of an educational thing where they teach, you know, education. But thank y'all for coming out, and thank y'all for doing it. I just want everybody to be aware of how much impact Swansboro does have on other places, not just Swansboro. It's impacting around the globe with our military and with groups like yourself and Jacob. So thank you very much for coming, and you're welcome to stay if you want to, but it's very exciting meetings we have. So if you want to stay, you can. If you want to leave, feel free to do whatever you'd like to do. At this point, I would like to recognize Whitney Cantrell is here, one of our probably new county commissioners, because I think you're running unopposed. Other couple, okay. But Whitney's here tonight, so thank y'all again for coming. And so we'll move on to the next thing. Oh, we're going to see your thing again.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming. So we have the public hearing section is next, and we don't have a public hearing, so we'll move on to John Barlow, our town manager, is going to talk about our interlocal agreement with the city of Jacksonville. Thank you. Yep.
Mayor, Board, good evening. Yes, as the title indicates, this is an interlocal agreement with the city of Jacksonville. The purpose of it is to formalize an agreement between the town of Swansboro and Jacksonville for inspection services. As you know, we've been without a full-time inspector for the past 6 months, and by law, you have to have a building inspector to inspect anything that requires a level 1, 2, or 3 inspection in your town, in your jurisdiction. Having an agreement with a neighboring town is common. So Jacksonville, when I contacted them back in February, they were more than gracious to, they knew we were in a situation where we needed some help. So for the past 6 months, they have been performing that service for us, providing level 1, 2, and the inspector we have is basically the same person every time. He has all his certifications, and he's doing plan review, and he also helps us with the floodplain management questions. But what they haven't done is they haven't charged us anything for the past 6 months. So I know that's one of your questions. Well, what's the cost going to be? Well, I don't have any data to give you because they haven't billed us anything. It's like, so that was when I contacted them. I said, look, this is a great situation. Do you have the capacity to continue this in a formal arrangement? And they did. They said, well, we'd love to help you out in the long term. We do have the capacity. So we came up with this interlocal agreement where they'll charge us hourly based on that employee's hourly rate plus 10% and mileage for the vehicle. I know in 6 months, I'm going to tell you, when I come back and I have that data of 6 months, it's going to be a significant savings to the town of Swansboro financially. As far as service, they have just been fantastic. Work with Jackie, permitting, works with the building inspector closely, scheduling him, letting our customers know when to expect an inspection. According to the agreement, they'll do it within 3 business days, but it's usually within a day or two, they're here doing all their inspections. Now, we do have a building inspector and a code enforcement officer on staff, but he doesn't have all his level 1. He's basically level 1 probationary, level 2 in some trades, but not all the trades. So he can do some things, and he does our code enforcement for us, such as nuisance abatement or grass, those kind of things. We'll continue to do that. We'll do the zoning, permitting, fire inspections, floodplain management, and we'll collect the fees. So all the revenue coming in that we generate from inspections, obviously we'll stay here in Swansboro, and they'll just bill us monthly, depending on how much time their inspector has to put into. Again, that fluctuates. How much time he's got to spend here doing inspection. So with that, if you have any questions, I would like get a motion from the board to accept this interlocal agreement for building inspection service from the city of Jacksonville.
John, do you expect this to be long-term?
The agreement is for 1 year, renewable for two additional years, but with a 30-day notice. It's not on either side that if they want to get out of it, they give us a 30-day notice. But I do see it being long-term. First 6 months, past 6 months that we've been doing this, it's just worked out really well. There are times when we're really busy, but it hasn't been an issue of him not being able to get here to do any inspections that we need. And particularly, what you need, the level 3 is what the critical ones, the electrical and all the larger commercial over 20,000 square feet. We've got to have a level 3 inspector. And, when we were looking for we were actively searching for a replacement. Finding a level 3 is difficult. There just aren't a lot of people going into that trade, into building inspections, and it takes years of training and certifications to get to that level 3. So we're very fortunate. Jacksonville's got several of them, but for us, Swansboro and the market it makes it tough to be able to compete with the compensation that you have to pay to get a level 3 person here. So I think in our instance here, I think this is a good situation.
So are we still going to be actively seeking inspectors?
I am not. No, if we do formalize this agreement, I won't need to. I'll feel, at least for the next year, I'm very confident that this is going to work out for us.
Hey, John, I had questions about cost effectiveness and responsiveness, but I think you've answered those and what I saw in the packet. And I was pretty impressed that within 3 days of notification that they would have the inspection completed and a report to you. So I thought that was very fair and reasonable, given the timeline of things and so forth and the demand for services. And I would think that would meet the population's, the community's requirements and so forth, and not hold them up, for lack of better words, by not having somebody full-time on staff. So, I mean, I was impressed in what was put together in the packet and what you briefed. And to Tamara's point, too, is if this is going to allow us then to evaluate this for the next 12 months and see how this unfolds, and if we need, if we want to pivot in a different direction, obviously we'd have the option to do that.
Certainly over the next 6 months, and when we start going into our next budget cycle, we'll have 6 months of data, and we'll be able to show you,
Exactly.
their invoices compared to, if you want to know what we've budgeted this year for permitting versus what it's costing us now, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised and see a significant savings next year. And we have a good relationship with Jacksonville, their staff, and Jackie does a great job here in our permitting to, receive the permits, find out, what inspections are needed. And when contractors call her to schedule, she gets right on it. She works with Daryl Johnson, the inspector in Jacksonville, to get on his schedule so we don't have any delays. So worked out well.
One last question. We purchased a new vehicle for that position last year. Recycle that.
That vehicle has been moved over to Public Services. I think Steve uses it for the most part.
Okay.
So we did not have to buy Steve a vehicle. We just repurposed it.
So I agree with everything they said down there. How many inspectors does Jacksonville currently have that does this? They have more than one, I assume?
Oh, my gosh.
I just don't want to put ourselves in a bind if they would lose that one guy or
Oh, no,
whatever.
they,
So we have a
and I'll
fallback.
get you that number, 5 or 6.
That's fine.
Yeah. They have pretty sizable staff, yeah. They have building inspectors in the planning department that just do the plan review. They have plenty of capacity.
So I'm assuming that it would work like the way they do. We don't know which inspector we would get. It would be a rotating inspector. It wouldn't be the same one. Like we have our inspector on staff, he'd be the same guy all the time. But we could have
Unless
a
he's on
different.
vacation or he's out, it's been, Daryl Johnson is one of their very veteran.
That would be familiar
he's
with
been doing it
Swansboro.
for the last
and
6
be
months,
our-
he's been it, yeah.
So we kind of be consistent with it. And it should come at a pretty significant savings for the town.
It will be.
Yeah.
Significant, yeah. 'Cause you don't have those,
Tens of thousands.
it's just
of
the hourly
dollars.
rate, whatever his rate, but we don't have all those other costs that has to have, that we have with a person on staff that we would
And the
incur.
level of service has been fine.
Been great.
Yeah.
Been great.
So, all right, anybody have any more questions?
Jacksonville, this was on their agenda last week, and they approved this interlocal already.
Yeah, I recommend make a motion to approve the interlock agreement between the town of Swansboro and the city of Jacksonville for building inspection services and authorize the town manager to execute the agreement and any related documents.
No discussion, so we'll take it to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? So that passes, and thank you for
Thank
working
you.
that out,
Appreciate it.
John. And
Yeah.
thanks to Jacksonville for working with us on it. They've been a
Yeah.
good partner, it
They've
sounds
been a
like.
great partner. They sure have.
All right, thank you for working that out for us. Okay, so, I guess is it still you, John? Okay, the winners, okay. All right, sounds good.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So the town is pursuing LWCF and Part F grant funding opportunities to support improvements at Swansboro Municipal Park. Withers and Ravenel has submitted a proposal to provide essential services associated with the preparation and submission of both grant applications, including environmental review, design-related items, required maps, project budgets, application preparation, and development of a site-specific master plan report. The consultant would also assist the town in assembling the required documentation and supporting materials for both grant submissions, with LWCF application due November 2nd of this year and the Part F application due May 1st of next year. The total proposed cost for these services is $35,200. When the project was initially discussed with the Board of Commissioners, I provided a preliminary estimate of $20,000 to $30,000 for grant application assistance. Following further review of the grant requirements, it was determined that both LWCF and Part F programs will require a site-specific master plan for Municipal Park. Because the town does not currently have a site-specific master plan for the park, the scope of work expanded to include preparation of the master plan report along with associated mapping and environmental review requirements, resulting in the proposal exceeding the original estimate. So staff recommends the approval of the professional service agreements with Withers and Ravenel in the amount of $35,200 to support the town's efforts to secure grant funding for the municipal park improvements. So, and then we also attached is the contract agreement, which outlines the scope of services and so forth.
Okay, so anybody have any questions
I
or
have
comments?
I know this estimate went up by almost 18% for the master plan. This is going to be invoiced monthly.
Yes.
Can we get updates on that?
Yes.
Just once we start hitting that $35,000 that
Yes.
we're allocating, start to exceed
Yeah.
that.
And just to clarify, when I gave you that estimate, it was just a ballpark estimate because literally it was just in casual conversation. I had no idea of like what something would cost, and they gave me a sample of a contract that could be, and so I had just estimated $20,000 to $30,000. So,
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
how you doing? I think it's actually, you're getting probably fair labor price for what you're asking them to do, because you're taking two smaller projects, you're winding them up, and you're including the master plan that I think we need, that you need to better provide a whole picture view, a holistic view of what's ahead for the master plan or strategic plan that you have in mind, right?
yeah. And we'll be able to use that site-specific plan probably, the regular comprehensive master plan is good for 10 years, so I would assume that a site-specific master plan would be good for the same amount of time. So if we would go after other grants to do other improvements in Municipal Park, that we would be able to use that same site-specific master plan, as long as like those components were probably included.
So we're consolidating them together, though, this. And I can see why they would require a little bit of extra funds to do that, because you're asking them to do
Yeah.
quite a long task list. Other than that, as long as we get progress reviews on how they're doing from time to time, and I'm sure you're going to provide that.
Yeah, and
fully-
I've already started a section in my monthly reports that includes this project, so I will just add on to it each month. So if you'll just be able to check out my monthly reports, it'll be in there.
Okay.
Bill, if I may, just
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
add some, I mean, I too, when I saw the initial cost there, caught me a little off guard because I thought it was higher than what we had briefed. I think it was actually 20,000 that was briefed in the minutes and so forth. But that aside, just completing some rudimentary research, I found that, employment or professional grant consulting firms show they increase success rate by 70 to 80%. They bring a level of subject matter expertise, minimize the risk of being disqualified for clerical mistakes, missing attachments, improper budget formats, among other items. And in this case, with Withers Ravenel, we know they have a very recent successful past performance, not only around the county, but in Onslow County. So I think it's very promising. And made me think back to when we made a significant investment with the project advisor for the public safety building that I thought that was money well spent. And in my opinion, I think this falls in that same category.
So they're very adept at writing grants, so that's a great thing that we'll have them doing our grant works. Will they present them to you or John for review before they submit them, do you think? Or will they just go ahead and submit the grant?
No, so
application?
there'll be stages. So I'm going to have to present to organizations. I'm going to have to present to you for approval. I'm going to have to submit to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. There is lots of stuff I've got to do before we even go to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just want to make sure that I was understanding that correctly. And it's great. I'm piggybacking and riding on what Doug said. It's great that we have a master plan that would be developed for the park. And I think that would be beneficial in directing where you need to go with things.
I mean, yeah, there's still many more steps, and we already have a tentative meeting scheduled Monday to get started on this, and I've already done a lot of pre-work already as well.
And Winters Ravenel has a really good reputation. They've been very good to work with our town, I think. Do you have anything? So with that, I'd like to get a motion to approve the professional services agreement with Winters Ravenel for professional services for the cost of $35,000. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
So there's a second to approve. Any discussion on that? No discussion, so we'll move to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so thank you, John and Anna, for that, and we'll move forward with Winters Ravenel on the grant applications, and then I guess you will report back to us periodically. Okay, so signage next with our financial report.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Okay. Here is your monthly report as of July 31st, 2026, and the two-year comparison in your general fund with encumbrances. Your total deficit of revenues over expenditures are $447,544. So we're in the beginning of the year, and of course I always explain why we're in the negative. That is because the majority of your town ad valorem revenue is not collected until November, December. So in this time frame, prior to November, December, we're probably going to be in a deficit, which I'll keep reminding everybody in case someone's online. And
Well, that's a yearly thing.
it is.
Every year.
But once the ad valorem starts coming in, it's going to offset that deficit.
Yep.
Okay? And this is your actual in your general fund, and that's total deficit of revenues over expenditures, $369,058. And if anybody wants to know the difference between this slide and the previous slide, okay, is your encumbrances, which is on that slide, okay? Just in case someone wants to. All right. So here is your summary of expenditures by department. And overall, your total expenditures are at 10.68% of budget, which is 2.35 more than the monthly projected of 8.33. So again, this is something I do every year. This is primarily due to our town's annual insurance payments, our dues and subscriptions, workers' comp, because they're all an annual payment. So that's why in the first couple months you're going to see this. But again, once the ad valorem comes in, it's going to level out. All right. Our lovely stormwater. Here we go. So stormwater bills, they were mailed on the 14th. We did do this in-house again this year. I think it went well. However, try to do better each year on that stormwater letter, and obviously, we still have issues with this letter. I know back in I think it's 23, 24, you were able to get a credit if you paid the lump sum before September 30th, and you also got a credit for your, if you had some type of mitigation, like barrels and cisterns or that kind of stuff. Well, in 24, 25, that was discontinued. We didn't get the $5, we didn't give the $5 credit because you paid in before September 30th. We got rid of that. Well, we're still having issues because people are still questioning, well, they're sending in $55 because they see on that letter, it says watershed, but they're getting confused. So I'm here to say that there is still that credit, the $5 credit, if you have measures to mitigate the impacts of runoff are implemented per the town's of Swan River Watershed Restoration Plan. I mean, it has a star in the letter where you can go find it, but there's still some questions about that. So the only credit you can apply for is the watershed credit. Did I say that right? Okay. So I apologize if the letter was, it starred everything, but last year it was, how do we make payments? So if you looked on the letter, I felt like I, did a great job explaining how to go online and make these payments online. But now this has come, so I don't know. I'll try and do better next year, I guess. I don't know how to fix that. But we'll figure it out. So anyway, you good? Okay. All right, so this is your Stormwater Enterprise Fund, and your total deficit of revenues over expenditures are $5,632. Again, this is the same thing with once they start, payments already starting to come in, so we should be good in the next couple months. So we shouldn't be in the deficit. And here's our solid waste enterprise fund, and total excess of revenues over expenditures were $13,098. I do believe I checked, and there's an invoice that has not been received yet, so that's probably why you have that increase there. And then here's your summary of town debt and current loan balances. And the vehicles, police and fire department and software, we made our final payment on that in July, so I just wanted to put that in red. And then here's your summary of town current cash and investment accounts and their current balances. And here is your grant update. The Stormwater Master Plan is done, as you can see. Emerton School repairs, the only thing we have left, I believe, are the doors, right? The doors, and that, they're working on that, so that should be done here
Sonia,
soon.
quick admin question. Is there a reason we still call that Emergency Operations Center instead of Public Safety Building? Or is that because the grant came under that name, that's what it has to be cataloged as? Okay,
I'm going to
just
leave
want
it.
our public to
I'm
be,
leaving it like that,
understand that it's obviously much,
Yeah.
much more than an Emergency Operations Center.
Yeah, that's how it's coded, that's how it's in the grant, so I'm going to leave it like that. And then nothing's changed from the last month. But if you have any questions, just let me know.
I do. Do you think there's going to be anything left over at the Emerton School repairs?
Like $600.
$600. Get handrails for $600.
Yeah, the doors were 39. See, I tell you what. I knew you were going to ask that question. 39.9 is the contract for the doors. So it's about, somewhere around there. So are you saying handrails?
Handrails. It was brought up last night at meeting that we attended, that there were some safety concerns. So,
Yeah, I believe Miss Amelia brought it up at the last meeting, and it was brought up at a joint Swansboro Historical Preservation workshop with the Swansboro Historical Association, that they'd be very interested to see if we could get something historically proper for the era of, some sort of a hand railing that would allow, facilitate just people getting in and out of the building and those oddly shaped stairs, which I think we'd all agree is, not the standard stairs.
Time, the grant has been extended a number of times, and I just read an email today that there are no more extensions to close out the grant I think September 30th is going to be our absolute drop dead. So I don't know if we can ask. I don't know if there's time to add it to the scope, get it designed, get it approved, and amend it for, I don't know if you can do that for 600. I'll ask, but I really think time is going to be our problem.
So,
Thanks, John.
so before we close out a grant, it comes to you, and anything that's left over in excess, if the grant allows it, then we can put it back in our general fund, but that's something we can ask them. And if that's the case, then maybe bring a budget amendment to, we get a quote or whatever for it. And if y'all want to do that, we can do it after the grant closes.
well, if we have something left over, that'd be great, but
It's very little.
It's something that we consider.
Any questions?
Any questions? Anybody else have any more? Nope. Okay, I guess not. Thank you, Sonia.
Thanks, Sonia.
All right, so we'll move now to the Board of Commissioners Policy Number 12, which is the Sam Bland Community Service Award, and Elisa will give that presentation for us.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As requested for your review tonight, we have the Board of Commissioners Policy Number 12 for the Samuel Swan Bland Outstanding Community Service Award and the associated nominating process. As a quick background, the award was established in 2009 to recognize individuals who demonstrated exceptional dedication and community service to the Swansboro community. Then in 2022, it was revised and amendments were made related to eligibility, outreach efforts, and to elevate recognition by holding an annual awards reception. We are asking tonight for the board to review and provide directions for any amendments or changes desired to be made. Were there any questions or anything I can assist with?
Anybody have questions for Elisa?
Do you know when board removed town employees from being eligible for this?
Yes, that was with that 2022 amendment. As I recall, that was done so that the award would remain most meaningful when used to recognize voluntary community service. And at that time, the board felt that contributions towards things that were performed within a person's working duties that they were compensated for was not something they wanted to recognize.
And I don't know, sent out a list for everybody since 2009 who received the award. And to me, it looks like there's 3 employees on here.
There are
former employees.
There are 3 employees on there. However, I do want to point out that Deb Palapue did not receive it for her employee contributions.
Yeah.
But
All I'm saying is it's not something, we're not setting a precedent by making our employees eligible for this award.
right, they were eligible up until 2022.
Right. Been done before, so.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion, put it back in that town employees are eligible as long as they fill the requirement.
Can you do it under direction, or do we need to have a motion?
Motion.
Okay. So Jeff's got on the table a motion to put town employees back in consideration for the Sam Bland Award. Is there a second on that
Second.
motion? Okay. So now we have a second. Is there any discussion on that?
Yeah, I'd like to say something real quick.
Okay.
I would like to point out that the three individuals that were former employees, that they went well above and beyond being town employees of things that they did. You know, one of the biggest was during COVID in Florence scenario. I mean, I think it comes down to being professional when it comes up to who submits this Sam Bland and really looking at it. You know, if a town employee goes above and beyond, I think it just so happens they'd be an employee. I think they need to be recognized if that's the case. You know, I just don't consider it. You know, looking at it, they're a town employee, and that's the way we're looking at it. It's things have to be taken into consideration, and I think we're professional enough to make a determination from this board that the right person is picked for that year when it comes to the Sam Bland.
Wayne, you had something?
Just to add to that, at least I was going to ask, in the award period, there's no defined period, right? It's not like it's for the last 12 months. I mean, it could be for the last 10 years of service and different contributions. Isn't that correct?
Yes, for example, the Schulers were recognized for their overall contributions, but usually it's come where a person has contributed within the last year and they've made a outstanding achievement that's been seen or recognized within the last year. That's generally how people end up getting recognized, because they've done something in that time frame.
Yeah, I would offer it as long as the board, our board, and future boards follows the precepts. I mean, I wouldn't think you would have any issues. And I'd see no issue in why we couldn't include it. Because I think the changes that were made in August of 22, on one hand, were to make this more encompassing throughout the community, you know, and reaching out to different organizations, you know, churches, libraries, media outlets, schools, and so forth, communication channels to encourage more nominations. And then I thought it was odd that we were limiting it at the same time. So I think, you know, reintroducing public employees for eligibility would be appropriate.
Okay, any more discussion? None? Okay, so no more discussion on it, so we'll go to the vote. All in favor of including town employees to the Sam Bland Awards, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so if you would please do that, that would be great. That motion passes.
We'll update the policy and we'll put it in consent next month for you to make your final determination on updating your policy.
Okay, all right, thank you, Lisa. Okay, no items moved from consent. Now we have public comment, and nobody is done. No, excuse me. Future agenda items. I'm sorry, I skipped that. Let me back up a step or two. So Elisa's still there to take future agenda item requests. Does anybody have any future agenda items? Anybody has any? We'll have some light meetings. And is there any way, and I don't know if this would be a meeting discussion, to delineate all of our public, I beat it like a dead horse, but our public water access for the public, I'm still a little, don't have my mind wrapped around completely where our public water accesses are.
We're actually working on getting some identification stuff done for that,
Yeah.
Which we'll bring forth to you once we have some stuff identified through
I
CAMA.
guess my point for that is I think some of those public water accesses are being denied to the public in general, and maybe we could get back to restoring that. That's where I'm coming from with it. I don't know how everybody else feels about that. Should we put the lease agreements that we've got for future agenda items for the Emerson School, should that be a topic of discussion in
So
one
we
of our
do have,
meetings?
we do have them on your list of future agenda topics. The leasing of that facility does require specific publication parameters that have to be met in order for it to go on a meeting. So we don't know what meeting that's exactly going to go on, but it is in your list.
Okay.
The I did want to point out that for your upcoming October meetings, I wanted to remind the board that you have one meeting in October because the
Because of
first
Mullet
meeting falls around the Mullet Festival, and that's generally not met, you're not generally not met them. For September, you do only have your fire department strategic plan presentation and your monthly financial report scheduled right now. Could very well be that you'll see the Emerton School lease show up in that month. We just have to wait and see and meet our publication requirements by state statute.
So one thing as well too is I'm still getting invitations to JOED, and so I'll be going to a JOED meeting Thursday. And there's Melissa, I think is her name, is a new director. Is it appropriate to ask them to come and do a presentation to the board? I'd like,
They're already they're on our list for future agenda
thought
items.
we had discussed.
And we're working to get something scheduled with them as well as ALTS. We're
Have you
working
had
on.
contact with them yet?
I have not
Okay.
completed contact. I have completed contact with ALTS, and they're looking to possibly do one of the October meetings, but
Okay.
for JOED, not yet. Nothing finalized yet.
So I'll mention that to her.
Yeah.
as
They're in
well,
our list for
because,
items.
there's dues associated with that.
Yes.
Now, and so I want to make sure they come and explain their case to our board and know where we're moving with that if we want to move forward with JOED. And then we got an email this afternoon from
Oh,
the ALTS.
That's the end of it. If you want to
Yeah,
announce
do you want to
that.
get them to come and do a presentation, or?
Yeah, if they could get more information. If you wanted a
Yeah,
future
go
agenda-
ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you've made contact, but I don't know, if you're part of the daily commute, you notice you've got these new buses out there called ALTS, the Onslow United Transit System.
Yep.
all right?
He's
Something the county
actually,
took up, yeah.
he's the one planning to come in October. That's
Okay.
Danny, and he's ALTS. That's the one he's working to see if he could work out October meeting for presentation.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good. You're good then.
Okay, anybody else have any future agenda?
Sidewalks.
We're working on that, actually. We got a master plan now, and you're going to forward that to Jumpo, right, John? The master plan for our sidewalks?
Sidewalk master plan.
Because Jumpo has agreed, that's going to be in my comments, has agreed, that's a topic. If we'll send them our master plan, and they're going to try to find leftover money for our sidewalks.
Okay. Can we at some point discuss a backup plan for the Mullet Festival this year? 'Cause last year was a nightmare.
I had a lot of people fussing at me.
Yeah. Find an alternate date or make a plan beforehand, something that, when we start getting flooded, we have an answer.
We have a logistical meeting for beginning preparations for Mullet Festival next week, and that'll be a topic we'll discuss then in that. Well,
Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Now we'll move to no items removed from consent, and public comment would follow, but there's no one signed up, and that's normally for up to 5 minutes for anything that's not on the agenda. And I normally ask if anybody would like to do that, just out of courtesy to our citizens. And does anybody want to make any comments about anything in this next section? Okay, nobody wants to make comments, so we will move to manager's comments with John.
Just a couple of items to make you aware of. I think we're all familiar with the swans that the town purchased several years ago, 3 of them at the cost of $3,000 apiece. We have 2 of them out, one in front of the visitor center, one here in front of Town Hall on 24, and a third one that will be at Parks and Rec. That's being, the artist, I think, is working on that design with Anna now. But we've inherited a 4th one. First Citizens Bank bought one from the Arts Council a couple years ago and had it designed in to promote First Citizens in their logo. And unfortunately, I guess corporate made a decision they are not going to be able to place it on the First Citizens property. So the bank has donated it to us to use as we see fit. So our next step, if the board's interested, is to find somewhere, preferably somewhere the property that is owned by the town, that we could set this one in place. And I don't know exactly where. We haven't got that far yet. We don't plan to repaint it or anything. It'll just be look like a First Citizen Swan, but they're attractive and they look good. And so we accepted it, but now we just need to find a home for it. So we'll be coming back to you with some ideas, unless you have some ideas where we could take advantage of it. It was nice of First Citizens to donate it to us for our use. The other item was brought up last couple of months is the sidewalk project. I've mentioned a couple of times that there are a lot of easements that we have to acquire. There are 31 properties that are going to be affected, but with Elisa's help this past week, did a deep dive into looking at exactly the easements we need to acquire from property owners. It's 21 property easements that we're going to need to obtain. Some of the easements we already had, and some when we look deeper, that it just didn't indicate their property was going to be affected, but it's in the right of way, so we don't need to get an easement from them, either construction or permanent. Some of the 21 are both construction easements and permanent easements. Some are just construction, some are just permanent. So each letter will be individually tailored. That if Les Raz has any issues with the way we drew up the easement and the form as to the form for to make him comfortable with it, we think those can go out next week. So you might be seeing those or hearing about those to property owners. Just requesting them to contact us, and we'll work with them to acquire the easement. This is all five. I'm doing all five project areas at one time. I'm not just going to pick one or two. I'm going to see maybe I can get, it's just 20. I don't think 21 is an insurmountable number. Just depends on, what kind of response we get, and I'll be reporting back to you regularly as we make progress. So once we get the easements, again, our engineer will be working with DOT to get the encroachment agreements that we're going to need on all these projects, because they're all in DOT right-of-way. And as well, the last big obstacle, obviously, is the funding. That's our biggest hurdle right at the moment. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Hey, John, I just want to, it relates to transportation in a way, but I'm kind of noticing a pattern in our neighborhood. Excuse me. Because it happened in front of my house. I think the depression I see on Spoonbill, it's not because anything to do with the drainage ditch itself, but it's between two manhole covers that connect the sanitation sewer. And the same pattern we saw in Cormorant, where Tim and I live, where what happens is wherever they did to lay that bed down for that sewer line, the sanitation, the one that goes to the water treatment and everything. What I'm saying, it's identical. It's starting, the road depresses first, and then all of a sudden, because I don't know about their inspection process, but we had to get ONWAS out there to scope it, and then to find out it was the installation of the sewer line that actually is causing the depression. And ours resulted in what do they call that thing, a sinkhole popping up in the middle of our street. I think it might be worth our while and save us some money in the long run if we get ONWAS at least to inspect that section of pipe on Spoonbill. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to find out that they're going to be responsible for that depression that's in that road out there, which is causing a lake. Because what it is there's no, when the road was originally laid in, there was a crown to that road. There's no crown left in that puddle anymore. Matter of fact, it's a depression. And it's right between two manhole covers like it was on our street. So that's my history, pattern analysis, whatever you call it. But it was, those installations were made about the same time and same era. So that might be worth Steve taking a look at and seeing if we can give the bill to them to come out and have them do a contract on it instead of us paying for that.
Yeah, if it is utility related, ONWAS is real good about taking responsibility. You said that this, is this a new one on Spoonbill? I'm not familiar with it. Okay. Okay. I get Steve, take a look at it. All right.
Quick question for John. The Main Street dock replacement, John, I know I think we had shared with us, or Bill had shared with us that we got the agreement we needed from the adjacent neighbor there, and we were moving forward, and I just wanted to get an update on what that looks like. And I understand the grant money we have is about, from the notes, $127,000, and is there any expiration that comes with that grant money?
I don't see the expiration date in my notes. We did last week, met with the adjacent property owner, Woodard, and he did give us a waiver to his riparian rights. So that gives us the waivers on both sides of the property. I contacted our consultant. She had put everything on hold as far as CAMA permitting, because it's expensive for engineering and planning services if we're not going to be able to do the project without the waivers. There was no project. So now that we do, I sent her the information she needed, and she's back on trying. The next step is to get our CAMA permits, finish design, get it approved, then go out to bid. So I don't have the expiration date. Well, it was awarded August 25th of 25 in the amount of $170,164. It's 18 months. I believe it's 18 months, so 27, is that right? August 26. Spring of 27, without an extension, we'll need to have it under construction.
You feel pretty good about the process with the CAMA permits and so forth, and getting those in a timely manner?
No, I feel we've got a lot of support from DEQ, Division of Coastal Management, on this project. They knew we were having trouble acquiring the waivers, but all that's all resolved. And I think if we need a 6-month extension, yeah, we won't have problem in getting it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to add something. The problem with getting one of the waivers is there's a lot of medical issues going on with the people that gave us the waiver, and they were gracious enough to come down and meet in person with us and, sign the waivers. Also, they came from Goldsboro down, so it was pretty gracious of them to do that. How long? So we've got the process going now with the grant application with Kathy, I guess, and
we've been awarded the grant.
Yep.
$170,000
back in August 25.
So now we just got to get it's a major CAMA permit, given the size of the project. It's complete replacement of the dock in the same footprint. We're not enlarging it or moving it or anything. It's going to be in the same footprint, but just the permitting process just takes a while.
That could probably be done in 6 months, couldn't it? All that. And
I hope it's not that long.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'll get with Kathy and update my report here for next month.
Because she's real familiar with that property, since she did the first grant, so.
That was her
should
first
make it a little
project in the late 80s when she worked for Coastal Management to get the grant for us and to build that dock in the late 80s.
That's beneficial for sure. Yeah. Anybody else have questions for John? All right. Anything else, John, that you want to?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right. So we'll now move to, is there any department reports? Anybody want to do anything on the department? Board comments, and is there anybody that'd like to start out first? And if not, then we'll just start down somewhere else. Okay. You go first? All right. Yeah. Yeah, because you're always.
And thanks, John. I appreciate you taking my call today and clearing up the agreement with Jacksonville. I was anticipating a long conversation, but you got to it right away, and it was everything I really wanted to hear. All I had to hear was we were going to save money on using Jacksonville's permitting person, and as Bill mentioned earlier, make sure that you send Mr. Ray an email thanking him for this, and I know I'm going to end up sending one to Mayor Pro Tem Edwards, telling her how we appreciate Mr. Ray working with you so we can have this done. Yeah, it wasn't a real long conversation for the most part, but the Sam Bland Community Service Award, making it, for the most part, anybody eligible who meets the criteria, that's just the right thing to do. I mean, as long as you meet the criteria, it really shouldn't matter what your employment, who you're employed with, or what you're doing. It's still going to come down to the decision of the board. So even if somebody wasn't qualified, we should still look at it, and that would be our decision to make. So I appreciate the board's support in changing that, and thank everybody for coming tonight. And once again, as usual, thanks for all of our town employees who do so much for this town every day.
Go ahead. Okay. Hey, thanks for everybody for being here tonight, and for those listening at home. Last week, I had an opportunity to attend the Historical Preservation Commission monthly meeting, and one of the items they brought up was a one-day workshop that they did back in 22 or 23, where they hosted other municipalities who had historic districts and so forth. Full-day event, a great opportunity to showcase Swansboro, and it sounds like they're interested in doing something like that again, and potentially targeting spring of 2027. And I just would like to offer that I believe everybody here would be behind them, because I think it's a great opportunity for the historic district, for the town, for downtown, the opportunities that we could have with a full-day event, get people downtown, get them over to the Emerson building, and really showcase, all the things that we feel special about, our home here in Swansboro. So I would just ask if they bring that up with the staff, that, they please bring that to the board, because I'd like to offer our assistance where it's needed, not looking to hijack their event or anything like that, but help them where they'd like assistance. And then lastly, I know this week is start of school again in Swansboro, and so families are getting back in those routines. I remember those days well, so I hope it's going smoothly for everybody this week. Dwayne, appreciate you and your team being out and about. Saw him yesterday morning over on Queens Creek and Highway 24, and I told you in an email, it made me look down at my dashboard to make sure I was going under 35 miles an hour. So I know the community appreciates the presence of your team being out there, and to all our family with school-aged children, I hope they have a great school year. Thank you. Tim, you want to?
Yeah, appreciate everybody showing up. I do want to mention Swansboro won their football game last night, so good for them, starting out 1-0. And I appreciate it. Chief, again, on the work, obviously, it's about 6:30 in the morning, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's kind of crazy right now, and I ask everybody just to be patient. Got a lot of young drivers out there, and just watch what you're doing.
Thank you for the staff for saving us several thousand, if not tens of thousands of dollars this week in the decision that you put before us, as well as Wayne, whatever you did, keep doing it, because I purposely crossed over. I purposely made my transits during the two peak times schools getting out and going to school. Guess what? No delays at all. So whatever traffic plan you were out there exercising, it's definitely working. The other one is, I think sometimes we kind of overlook some things, take a lot of stuff for granted in our lives, and I think we should, one, challenge the board here, and I say this because John has done a heck of a job in the past. We've had you here almost 2.5 years now, coming up on. getting ready to year number 3. Yep. And we need to expedite getting the announcement out there that we'll be looking for a new town manager now that you've made the decision to retire. I was hoping we're going to have it out this month, but I would like to see it out sooner the better to entertain, the longer you have the announcement out there, the more talent I think you're going to attract. And I think we have an opportunity to maybe attract someone just like you who's looking to maybe retire to their tenure or wants to move to a magical little place we call Swansboro here. So whatever we got to do in order to get that done, if you need our support, but the sooner I think 9 months is not a long time between now and you're into contracts in June, right? Yeah, we're 10 months now. So that's all I've got, though. But appreciate the help, guys. John, you've done a great job as super team. I'll continue to tell you that until you leave, but don't rest on your laurels. Let's stack up the task list for the new guy coming up.
Okay, Tamara?
Thank you for everybody that came out tonight. Miss Janet, it's always good to see you. Town staff, thank you for all you do. John, don't drop your pack just yet. Got a lot of projects making good progress. Chief, the increased police presence every year for the start of school makes such a difference, so definitely appreciated. Tonight, I want to thank Mr. Justice. Mr. Justice goes above and beyond every day. Some of us go back to our regular jobs, and every day he is meeting and greeting and making sure that nobody forgets what we need. We appreciate it.
I'll pay you later. Anything else?
Take it while you can.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Tamara. It's just part, I feel compelled to try to do things. Went to the Jumbo meeting last week and got a little bit more clarification. So Queens Creek Bridge is still on the table. It's for 2033, but there's no money actually allocated to it, but it is on the timeline. Sidewalk plan, I had a good discussion after the meeting, and John's going to get our sidewalk master plan over to them, and they're going to look at it and see if they come up with leftover, as I alluded to earlier, with a little bit of leftover project money that they may have. It won't be any great amount, but we could maybe fill in some gaps with the sidewalks, maybe, if it's appropriate. And so they're willing to take a look at that. We had already approved in a resolution earlier about a left in and left out for the 24 entrance exit for Food Line. There's 2 of them. There's one by Dollar General and there's one by Go Gas. And if I look at the map properly, it's for the Go Gas entrance is where they're talking about doing a left in and left out, not the one further down to Dollar General, but that was already in a resolution. We're working on sidewalk grants with them. We had a principals meeting the other day. Tamara came to it, and it was just a very impromptu, casual meeting, just the beginning of school meeting. Dwayne was there as well. And just to put names to faces and to kind of let them tell us what they need, which they don't really need a whole lot. They're pretty self-sufficient, and we have a real good group of principals out there that I think are taking care of our kids and young adults. So we can feel fortunate with that. They are all very involved and very enthusiastic. So it was good to get together with them. And I don't know, were you on that group chat that sent out those phone numbers for all the principals? Okay, so I've got to figure out who these numbers go to because it was a group chat and there's no names with a lot of them. So I do have a couple of names on it, but once I get that, I'll give it to all the board members so we all have the numbers for our school principals in the case or event that we may need to help them. We were asked, and Jeff and I went out to the landings to talk to the residents out at the landings, and due to some communication issues, the representative had not planned it, so that was a quick meeting, just to say the least. But I got to see Jeff, so that brightened up my day. Had the Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and that was real good. Went to the Carteret County. We're always invited to the Carteret County Mayor's meeting since we're right on the border of Carteret County, and it's good to develop relationships with those guys as well. So we had a nice dinner and talk at Ribeyes, and I had the $200 steak that goes to the town, but don't let me start with that because there's a lot of that going on out there.
You're in Cary, huh?
Yeah, so I shouldn't even joke about that. That was in poor taste. It's good to see the board so involved with our Historic Preservation Committee. I don't think we've had a board this involved in the past with preserving our history. So thanks to the board for showing that interest, and that gives Swansboro its identity. And today is Major James Caper's birthday, and he was supposed, great individual. It was supposed to be a get-together at his house today, but they rescheduled it due to he needs some rest. They really are pulling him everywhere. He's been to Texas, D.C. He just is on the go with this Medal of Honor thing, so they rescheduled that for next Thursday, and I got him a little gift to give to him from the town, and he probably won't be able to use it, but it's a bottle of spirits that dedicates part of their profits to 3 groups for veterans, like Tunnels to Towers, Folds for, I can't remember exactly, but there's 3 groups that it donates to. So we'll be presenting that to him from the town. No cost to the town, so don't worry about the town budget. So, and I think that is a good point to bring up, to thank the mayor and town manager for Jacksonville on what they're doing to help us. That's all I have. That's plenty enough. Dwayne, thank you again for the communication that you and Ben gave us on opening day. Seems like it went better than most years in the past, and we've learned from what we've observed. So thank you for that. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, got a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we're adjourned. Thank you, guys. I would think, yeah.